No, it's not Pine Barrens. The coldest moment in The Sopranos is a scene of a man walking up to his porch with some groceries. All seems well until footsteps are heard coming around the corner. The life of Tony Blundetto after prison showed great promise, but he ended up denying himself the security of civilian life. On the other end of the porch stands Tony Soprano, a man who at this point is a slave to appearances. This moment is a brutal end for that Animal Blundetto.
That fucking Animal Blundetto.
But also serves as an unnerving display of the hollow life the two Tonys lead, and the fragility of that life and their relationships.
Boy, are you fat.
Tony Blundetto really caught me off guard when I first watched The Sopranos. I was initially hesitant of this mob guy going back to the civilian life, but once I saw his commitment to his practice, I genuinely started rooting for him. Tony Soprano was also hesitant at first, but he eventually comes to accept his cousin's choice. But under it all, Tony also has a lot of guilt because he was supposed to be there with Blundetto the night he was arrested. Tony B got sent away to jail for 16 years, his daughter disappeared, and his twins spent their first 9 years without their father there for them. How they were conceived is not a story I care to share here. But meanwhile, Tony Soprano got to raise a family in a nice big house. Now, obviously, Tony Soprano's family life isn't as perfect as it may seem. The house, along with all the expensive jewelry and items within it, are all just an attempt by Tony Soprano to make up for all of his shortcomings as a father and as a husband. Tony Blundetto reassures Tony that there is no envy for the nice life the Soprano household has. Tony Soprano has a hard time taking that answer for what it is because in his life, everyone is resentful and everyone is looking for more. Tony Soprano gets Tony B a clean job at the laundry cleaner. See what I did there? Initially, his boss, Kim, is not really sold on this new direction in life. But even so, Tony B keeps working and keeps studying. And eventually, Kim is convinced that Blundetto is a strong working man and even offers him a massage business partnership. Tony B just keeps winning from here on out. He gets his massage license, then, like an act of God, a bag of $12,000 of drug money lands right beside him. In the span of just one episode, Tony Blundetto rides this high of success and instant gratification. But that drug money he found gave him a taste of the old life he used to lead. He begins buying all sorts of stuff for his kids and buys a bunch of random bullshit for himself. This comfortable lifestyle begins to make the hard work of civilian life all the more difficult and a lot less appealing to Tony Blundetto. And after working so hard and putting up with so much, Tony B just cracks.
We open in 3 days.
Word to the wise. Remember Pearl Harbor.
Just as fast as his life was starting to look better, Tony B gives up and falls back into his old life. Tony Soprano welcomes his cousin back to the life, satisfied with things going back to the way it was. It doesn't take long for the animal to readjust himself. He does a hit on one of the New York crime family's goons as a job for his old cellmate, Angelo Gareppe. This relationship with Angelo shows the twisted sentimentality of Tony B's return to crime. This is where he feels best. He could whack 100 bystanders as long as it meant getting that gratification, but this high doesn't last that long, and the Lupertazzi family soon finds out who orchestrated the hit. Now, knee-deep in it all, Tony B enacts his own vengeance when Phil goes to pick up his brother from preschool. There's nothing left for Tony B now. He just killed Phil's kid brother, and there is no payoff to it. Now Tony Soprano is in a difficult position. He's a cousin to Tony B, but the boss of the New Jersey mob, and he needs to keep his crew in line. The longer Tony B lives, the more dangerous it is to be a part of the New Jersey family. If he finds out where Tony B is and gives him up, he'll meet a painful death by the hands of the Shah of Iran. In this episode where Tony has to make this grave decision, there's a side plot where he goes to the apartment of Paulie and finds a refurbished painting there. The painting was one that Tony had done of himself and his beloved horse, Pai O Mai. But after the death of this horse, Tony wanted the painting gone.
I'm in a lake.
It's museum quality work, I admit that.
Paulie saw value in it and took it to be redone and had Tony repainted as a Napoleon-type figure. I remember when I first watched this, I initially only found this scene to be amusing because of Paulie's insane glazing on display.
Something that catches more of what you're really all about.
A goddamn lawn jockey?
But it was on rewatch that it actually was made clear to me why Tony was so upset about this painting. Tony is seen as this general, and he often describes himself and his peers as soldiers.
It's war. Soldiers, they kill other soldiers.
But deep down he knows that this is not true. He isn't fighting for anything except profits. But he still has this image that he must maintain. that of a general who will do whatever must be done. And so we arrive here at the porch. Tony B returns to his home that has been his own limbo from the rest of the world. He hears the footsteps, and he sees his cousin, and then dies right at that moment. Tony's decision to kill Tony B quickly was the right decision, but it was the right decision after a long series of wrong decisions. Wrong decisions made by both Tonys, and every person who got involved with this life. Tony B chased the high that led him to committing one grisly act after the other, and he was finally put on the other end of the gun. Tony Soprano had an image to maintain, but he had to sacrifice a loved one in order to do so. The show keeps cutting to Blundetto's face. There is no honor in the act that Tony Soprano just committed. Pauly's painting doesn't depict a general. There is no man in the painting, and there is no man behind that gaze.
Boy, are you fat.